Is your business protected against the threat of malicious litigation and frivolous lawsuits? Are you sinking company profits into marketing campaigns that do nothing to contribute to the growth of your business? Bottled Business Sense provides practical business perspectives that uniquely emphasize both legal and media marketing strategies to protect and ensure the longevity of your business. And whether you're trying to provide a startup business with some level of stability or an established business with foolproof asset and estate protection, or simply attempting to get a better return for your business marketing dollars, Bill Bernard and Rick Moscoso will expose potential pitfalls to ensure the security and growth of your business, free from unwanted expense and the threat of litigation. You'll learn how to implement marketing and protection tools equal to those used by today's most successful corporations. Let's join Bill and Rick for today's Bottled Business Sense show.
Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday at 10 a.m., and welcome back to the Bottle Business Sense Show. We are happy to be with you today. And remember, you can always watch us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and, of course, on iTunes. We are now on iTunes, so if you would go there and subscribe, review, and download one of our episodes, that would be great. And that is a convenience that we're providing for those that are on the go, just want to listen in. And so we've converted all these episodes into iTunes episodes for you. So with that, today's topic is centered around estate planning. And, of course, for that, I'm going to bring on my partner, Mr. Bill Bernard.
Yes.
And,
hello, Rick.
welcome
How are
from
you?
Hawaii.
Happy New Year to everybody. You caught me reading my wine.com brochure here.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know if anybody discovered that. I don't make any money off of wine.com. I'm not trying to plug it for any monetary reason, but it's great, especially for where I live. They ship the wine, pay $50 a year, and you can buy all the wine you want and have free shipping. Anyway,
Awesome.
That was my start of the new year. I ordered some wine, and Happy New Year to everybody. It's good to be back. First show of the new year. And we've been on a while now. God, Rick, how many years now is this?
Yeah, well, we're coming up in a few months. We're coming up on year 7.
Wow.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wow. When I was, it makes me think of how much younger I was 7 years ago. But anyway, we are on iTunes. We're excited about that. Rick told you a little bit about that. One little minor correction. I don't think we have all the episodes downloaded there yet. I think it's a work in progress, but yeah, certainly some of the more recent ones. And, we keep adding to it. So if you go there, feel free to download one and enjoy at your leisure. Mm-hmm. Today what I thought I'd do is give you some feedback on this Proposition 19, which passed in California this past election. And I thought I'd recap it a little bit and kind of give you some of the ins and outs with regard to the property taxation issue that it involves. And then maybe towards the end of the show, just briefly touch on the step-up basis in taxes that you have to be aware of when you inherit property. But let's first define what we're talking about. Do you have any idea, Rick, what assessed value is?
Sorry, Bill, I had to step out of the studio for
What did you do? Go to sleep on me.
No.
Do you have any idea what assessed value is?
Assessed value on your property?
Yeah. What does it mean?
Well,
I stump them every week.
Yeah, you do stumble me because you always catch me off guard.
I mean, so if a smart guy like Rick doesn't know what assessed value is, I have to assume that there are other people out there that don't know. But anyway, it's not that big of a deal in terms of understanding it. Assessed value is something that is used by a public official, works at a county. They come out, they assess your property, and the assessed value, according to the formula they used, is in some part based on past sales and things of that nature, and they put this all into a formula, and they determine what the assessed value of your property is for purposes of property taxes. We don't need to know that formula. That's not relevant for our purposes here today. We accept that there is a formula across the country in different counties that are used. What we want to know is what does the assessed value, whatever it may be, affect our property taxes under Prop 13? Before we discuss that, I want to also say there's a difference between that assessed value and fair market value. Fair market value, of course, is what a willing buyer and a willing seller are willing to engage in and make a deal about. Whatever a willing buyer is willing to buy for, or whatever a willing seller is willing to sell for, they have a mutual agreement that's reached, and that's going to determine the fair market value of the property. So let's just briefly talk about prior to Prop 19. Your parents could transfer a primary residence, that is a residence they lived in, without any new property assessment, regardless of how the children chose to use the property. So, excuse me, your parents live in a home prior to Prop 19. It's their primary residence. They want to give it to their kids. Doesn't matter what the kids are going to use the property for. They get it at the original assessed value of when your parents bought it. There's no increased assessed value. Effectively, this allowed children to avail themselves of the same property tax basis that their parents enjoyed. Now, with regard to any secondary property the parents had, again, this is pre-Prop 19, such as a vacation home, a rental property, commercial property, when they transferred that to the children, it could be transferred with up to a $1 million of assessed value exemption. So the first $1 million would be exempt. If it was transferred to you and it was worth over $1 million, assessed over $1 million, then there would be an increase in taxes. So now let's jump over to beginning February 16th, 2021 coming up. So we have about almost a month left. When Prop 19 goes into effect, children who inherit real property will have to factor in increased property taxes in the decision of whether to sell property that they inherit. So let's talk about this a little bit more directly. If a child chooses to keep the real property that they are provided and use it as a primary residence, then up to $1 million of the reassessed value will be excluded as part of the new property tax basis. So now you get the home from your parents, you decide to use it as your own personal residence, primary residence. You don't get it for free. You get up to a $1 million exemption. So if the property is worth less than $1 million, you get no reassessed value added onto your property taxes. If you decide to keep the property as a second home, a vacation home, or a rental, no exemption at all. It's reassessed, and you have to pay a new property tax bill based on that new reassessment. Okay, so those are the primary things I wanted to get into your head. Let me just talk about an example. If parents purchase a rental property in 1940 for $50,000 and the value of the rental property is more than $1 million, when it's transferred to a child after February 16th, the parent's tax basis does not pass to the child. The child will now have to pay property taxes based on the new assessed value, whatever that amount may be. Okay? So remember the exemptions prior to Prop 16 that we talked about, although they're going to be swept under the carpet in another month. And remember that after February 16, 2021, when Prop 19 takes effect, you've got the $1 million exemption if you take property and you're going to use it as your primary residence. You have no exemption if you're going to use the property for some secondary basis like rental property or commercial property, something of that nature. So before we move on to the next area I want to talk about, which involves trust law, I want to give a brief summary of what we're talking about in terms of this new Prop 19. In addition to a primary home, each parent can transfer other property, as we've been discussing, such as a vacation home, a rental property, or commercial property, and exempt it up to $1 million. That was prior to Prop 19. Prop 19 changes the rules on parent transfers as follows. Another kind of a summary. It abolishes the exemption on other property. It preserves the exemption on the primary residence, but only if the child also uses the home as his or her primary residence, and to the extent the difference between the home's assessed value and the market value does not exceed $1 million. $1 million exemption. If it does exceed $1 million, it will be reassessed. Prop 19, you should know, is not retroactive, and it won't apply to any property until it is transferred after this February 16th deadline. Okay? And now we're going to get into trust law. Rick, have you come across anybody who has had any questions about Prop 19 or has been interested in transferring property since the passage of Prop 19 in November?
No, not recently. In fact, I was on a call with my real estate agent, and he touched on it, but we really didn't get into it. I know he has a number of clients because he is into real estate investing that would probably be affected by this, but not me directly.
Okay, well, it's a new and stay on the line here because I want you to kind of. I know that we've talked a lot about estate planning and your input as a person who has a family that's concerned about this is as important as anyone who may be listening to this. But I want to talk a little bit about trust law and say that when a property is placed in a trust for the purposes we've been discussing, Prop 19, assessors will look through the trust. That means they will look at it if it's a revocable living trust. They're going to want to see who owns the property. And yes, the property is redeeded into the name of the trust, but you're still the owner as the creator of the trust. And so what that means is, as long as the person is alive, as long as you or your wife or whoever it is that created this trust is alive, putting the property in or taking it out of a revocable trust won't trigger reassessment because the beneficial owner, you and your wife, or just you, have not changed. So putting property in and out of a revocable trust will not cause this reassessment to take place even post implementation of Prop 19 on February 16, 2021. When the grantor dies, however, the trust becomes irrevocable and the property is deemed to have been transferred to the new beneficiary or beneficiaries. And it will trigger a reassessment of the property unless it qualifies for one of the exemptions we've been talking about, the $1 million exemption if a child inherits it and decides to use it as their primary residence. So if a couple sets up a revocable trust in a way that full ownership of the property transfers to their surviving spouse, it won't be reassessed when the first spouse dies. The spousal exclusion will apply, but then it's reassessed when it goes to the children, and whether or not you have this $1 million exemption is up for grabs, depending on whether you're going to intend to use it as your primary residence. So what does this all mean, Rick? This really essentially means that setting up a revocable trust is not going to get you around Prop 19, the $1 million exclusion for using an inherited property as your personal residence if you're one of the children of the creators of a trust. It's not going to get you any more of an exemption than Prop 19 already gets you. So what do we have to then creatively think about doing? I know you know the answer to this, Rick. You got to come up with it. What's the reverse? I shouldn't say the reverse, but what's the opposite of a revocable trust?
Well, irrevocable trust.
There you go. I love putting them on the spot. An irrevocable trust. We got to get these guys to participate in the program, right? Okay, so an irrevocable trust. Where parents set up a transfer of property to an irrevocable trust and the first beneficiary is a child, because you can't revoke that, and because the trust now owns the property, it's a change in ownership at that moment, and you would need to file your parent-child exclusion. So you put it in an irrevocable trust, and now you can get the exclusions that are available to you for the child because it's no longer your property, but you got to file for that exclusion right away. So you put a piece of property in an irrevocable trust, right? And you do it now before Prop 19 hits, and bingo, you could take advantage of the pre-Prop 19 exclusions, right? If you do it after Prop 19, then you're going to be able to do it with the exclusion provided under Prop 19. But what you do is you transfer the property to a revocable trust. It is no longer your property. And so some parents are also transferring investment property to their children in an irrevocable trust before February 16th so they can get the parent-child exclusion that applied to that type of property prior to the implementation of Prop 19 in February of 2021. So don't let this complicate things too much. Go back and listen to the video slowly. The idea being you have certain exemptions prior to Prop 19 implementation on February 16, 2021, that you don't have afterwards. And putting things in an irrevocable trust will allow you to take advantage of exclusions prior to the implementation of Prop 19, rather than putting it in a revocable trust and waiting until you pass and then giving it to your children. That'll more than likely be post Prop 19, and then your exclusion options go way, way down. Okay, so that's what I wanted to really tell you about. And the last thing I want to mention to you, which is important, is we haven't really talked about the step up in basis issue that typically resides in an estate planning plan. So the downside of transferring assets to children now is that the children generally will lose the step up in basis that applies to appreciated assets when an owner dies. This huge tax benefit lets heirs avoid the capital gains tax to a certain extent. So you have to measure what's going to be more important to you, the increase in assessed value in property taxes, or the value of the property that will cause you to pay capital gains tax if you don't get the step up in basis. So if you want the step up in basis, maybe you don't care about the Prop 19 issues, because you'll take whatever you get when Prop 19 hits and you get the property in any reassessed value, but you'd rather have the step up in basis so you're not hit with capital gains. Well, let me give you this last example on a capital gains step up in basis example. Okay, so pretend your parents buy their house for $100,000 and now it's worth $1 million. Their old tax basis was $100,000. Now mom passes and half the house has a basis of $500,000 and half has the old basis cut in half, which is $50,000. If dad gives you the house, then your tax basis would be $550,000. So if you sold the house, you'd pay $450,000, and your tax would be around $90,000 by way of the capital gains tax. If you inherit from dad and your tax basis, if you inherit from dad, then your tax basis would be the current value that day, which would be $1 million, and you won't ever pay taxes on that again. So if you inherit from dad and you get the stepped up basis of $1 million, now you're starting at $1 million. If you don't inherit from dad and you get the property transferred to you to save on Prop 19, if you feel you can, now you've got a basis of $550,000 instead of $1 million, and now you're going to have to pay capital gains taxes on $450,000. Okay, this gets a little hairy, but go to a lawyer if you need help and iron this out. It's not really all that difficult. Really, what you want to measure is the capital gains issue on any property that you might inherit from your folks versus whether or not you would be better off saving in property tax assessment by way of Prop 19. I tend to think that more often than not, the capital gains issue is going to be in play. But having said that, You need to be aware of Prop 19 issues. You need to be aware of creative ways to set up your estate plan by seeing an estate planning lawyer and figuring that all out. So anyway, that's today's show. I hope it gives you a little bit of an idea of how Prop 19 is structured. Go back and listen to the tape again and play it slowly and understand it. Make some notes. Prop 19 has some other areas that it involves that I didn't get into today because I wanted really to give you this background understanding, I hope, from between property taxes and stepped up in basis for purposes of estate planning. Okay, so that'll do it for today's show, Rick. I hope it was somewhat helpful for everybody. And as we move on, there'll be new laws, a lot of new laws coming down this year, both in estate planning and in employment law, which we'll be addressing from time to time. And I'm talking specifically about California. So take care, everybody. And Rick will, I think, give us a little bit of a rundown on where you can get a hold of us if you need to. Right, Rick?
Right. I'll take us out. So thanks again, Bill, for the discussion on the topic. For those of you who need to listen to this back again, unless you're back in the 80s, this is not on tape, but it is on video, and it will be
funny guy. You're a funny guy, Rick.
It will be on iTunes, and fortunately, you can put it on half speed to listen to it nice and slowly. So
you mean to tell me there's people out there that still don't have their 8-track tapes? Come on.
I still have mine, and I still have a VCR in the garage. So there you go. So anyway, thanks for joining us today. Remember, you can always hear us or watch us on Facebook, Twitter, or on our website at bottlebusinessshow.com, and certainly on iTunes. Please subscribe, review, and download our episodes. The episodes that are on iTunes are since we have live streamed. So that would be back from, what was that, February, March? I think when we transitioned.
Yeah, somewhere around there. But yeah. I think can't we upload some of the other ones too?
Oh, sure. Yeah. And what I've been doing is initially the episodes where we've live streamed are on iTunes. And then we've been going progressively in previous weeks and posting those episodes to iTunes too. So there's quite a big, healthy library there of things, of topics that we've discussed in the past. So check it out. There's a lot of information there on iTunes, and it's all for you guys. So we appreciate your support, being with us for almost 7 years. And, we got to think of something special here for the 7th year.
We'll come up with something. I think we started in the summertime, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. June.
So we'll think about something then. But also remember, folks, to go and to the other mediums that we're on, and if you're not into iTunes, but any support for iTunes that you can give us would really be appreciated. And remember, this is all kind of like a public service. We do this for free to try to give you guys general ideas on a certain topic, but you need to go to a lawyer to sift out your particular circumstances. Because anything we say here cannot be considered legal advice per se as it applies to your specific circumstance, because we don't know what that is. So, so do us that favor, seek out legal advice, and have a happy, healthy business in 2021. And I hope, and I expect that we'll get COVID under control this year.
Yes, looking forward to that. So we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. And with that, we're out for today. Have a great day.
Take care, everybody.